Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times Willy B, we'll continue through the Jaws tetralogy with Jaws 2. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell.
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I've got Uncle Robb back with me here for Jaws 2. Definitely not as good as the original, but there is some good to talk about, which we will. You've got Jeannot Swar in the director's chair. Spielberg, this was before he was into sequels, so he said, I don't believe in doing a sequel until Indiana Jones decided to do some, and he was on board for those ones, but he did the right thing because the Indiana Jones sequels are much better than the Jaws franchise ended up being here, which we'll talk about throughout this week. But cast-wise, we've got Roy Scheider back, we've got Lorraine Gary, and then we've got a boatload of kids in this movie. But we'll start with the good. And something I was saying the good for this one is it's definitely the best sequel we get in this franchise.
Yes.
It's the only one I think has some replay value.
Yes.
I don't, every time I watch it, it's not that I hate it. I do enjoy this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just I don't enjoy it as much as the original.
No. Look, it's not a bad movie.
No.
And you know, my perspective of this movie was I was a kid when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was older. I was probably a very young teenager at the time that this came out. So, you know, who didn't want to be a kid on Cape Cod who had a sailboat?
Yeah.
Who could go out with all their friends and sail around? Yeah. I mean, how awesome would that be?
Exactly.
So the idea there, because this movie really was probably made more for young people to watch.
Yeah.
And so in terms of that, yeah, it was a good movie. I mean, it wasn't Jaws 1.
No.
But here's the thing. Of the four, it's the only one that actually felt like a Jaws.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you were still in Amityville. You were seeing the boys a little bit older.
Yeah. And
all of that made sense. And the beautifulness of the area and the same town and all of that. So, yeah, I thought it was a good movie. I'm going to just jump to a scene that stands out to me. There were a couple that stand out to me, and I haven't seen the movie in a while. But when the boy and the girl were on the red boat, and he was kind of getting ready for their little picnic, and the shark hits the boat, and he goes into the water, and he finally, the shark gets him and brings him up to the boat, and he's holding the boat, and the wood snaps, and you can see that cut in in the boat. But I mean, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
And that girl did a great job. I mean, she's shark when they finally found her. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
I like where they find her too. How she's like tucked under and like hiding, that's gonna protect her.
Just
from
shaking.
Yeah.
No color in her face. I mean, fantastic.
And the cool thing with her too is they keep cutting back to her as the stuff is going on with the sailboats and the kids. They keep cutting back to her sitting in the cop car, and you can tell she's just experienced the most trauma you can experience.
Right.
Great scene. I was just gonna say great scene.
And then the kids they all out in their boats, and all of a sudden they're all entangled because this shark has created chaos. And then the poor girl that gets bit trying to save the youngest brother in front of him, and he watches this. Yeah. And again, very sad. Because I was a kid, I was their age. Yeah. I could relate to that.
Yeah.
The terrifyingness of being with all of your friends somewhere, and then all of a sudden something like this is happening, and you're dealing with it. Helicopter scene.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't put it in the good.
Neither would I.
So we'll revisit it. But no, I mean, continuing with the good, Roy Scheider is great once again.
Right.
I mean, you get good performances. Lorraine Gary is great as well. You get a little more into the corruption of the mayor, which is, like you said, you like that part of the book. You get more of it here in the second movie, so I like that aspect of it, especially with his relationship with this guy that's trying to sell the island, and they're both just in it for the money, and Roy Scheider's like, no, I truly believe there's a shark back. I mean, with the orca discovery, it's just there is a lot to like with this movie. Yeah. It's like you said, it's not the original, but it's still a good movie. It's still a good movie.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It's still a decent watch.
They changed it enough by going to high school kids that. Yeah, I would say it was a great movie. I mean, would I say it would make my list of best movies ever? No. But was it a great movie to watch? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
definitely feels like a Jaws movie, like you said.
Yeah, we watched it. I watched that movie probably 3 or 4 different times when I was young.
Yeah.
And enjoyed it every time. I went back several years ago and watched it again for the first time. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Not the original.
No.
But it felt like a family member of the original.
Yeah.
And like you said, Roy Scheider, great. The same assistant chief or police officer was in it.
Chief, yeah.
Yeah. A good movie.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about this movie is the first one is Chief Brody is the police chief. He's going after the shark for the town. The second part, he gets fired. I love how he gets fired, and now he's going after the shark because he's a father. And I think that's why I like, the difference from the first and second, and the difference in his character is the first one is he's taking his career seriously. The second one is this is personal because his kids are out there and they're the ones in trouble. The final showdown is fun, getting the kids to safety, and then obviously the power wire comes back to play because they pull it up earlier in the movie.
Right.
Another cool explosion at the hands of Roy Scheider. You gotta love that.
Yeah. Well, and in this one, he'd been there.
Yeah.
He's seasoned.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of a badass.
Yeah.
Because he is seasoned. He's dealt with this, and he's the hero. Yeah. In the first one, he may have shot the shark, but he wasn't a hero.
Yeah.
Not really. He never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
They were happy to have survived.
Yeah.
But in the second one, he was the man. I mean, he was going to go out there and save those. These are his kids, his kids' friends, and the helicopter wasn't going to save them.
No.
But he. The thing was, he respected the shark.
Yeah.
He knew how terrifying it was.
Yeah.
He knew the challenges that laid ahead to deal with it. But it didn't make him, he didn't wait. He didn't hesitate.
No.
He was going to go out and he was going to do what he had to do.
For sure.
And which is what made it a good movie. And so I would say definitely a good sequel.
Yeah.
You know?
One of my favorite scenes in this movie is when he comes home after being fired. He's obviously drunk. And the new police chief, his old assistant, is there and has the bottle of Jack. They take a shot together. His is more than a shot. His is a quadruple shot. But they drink a little bit, and he lays down on the couch, and he just goes, I'm tired. I'm tired. And she says, no, you're drunk. But, like, Roy Scheider was convincing. Like, if you had gone through what he had gone through in the first movie and a half at that point, you'd be pretty damn tired. And I think, like, Roy Scheider sold that line in the sense that, like, you actually felt like he was kind of okay with being fired.
Yeah, and you know, something that just occurred to me, and this goes back to the first movie, and actually I think the third movie, was the scene when you said it, when Hooper comes over and they're having the dinner and he had brought wine.
Oh, yeah.
And the son is imitating him.
Yeah.
And then in the third movie, wasn't there a scene?
I'm pretty sure.
Where the son and...
Yeah. It's either the third or the fourth, but it happens again.
I think it was the third one.
Yeah.
Where they had that imitation scene. That just kind of came back to me.
Yeah.
That was kind of neat.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, the second one, like you said, it's a good sequel.
Yeah, it's they kept the music, which good,
you
smart
have to,
thing.
yeah.
There was again going to Cape Cod, knowing the area, appreciating all of that. the teenagers, and they all had their boats, and they were going to get up and go out. All great things, you know.
Yep.
So, yeah, even though it wasn't the first one, I think it was definitely a decent movie. It definitely worth the watch. And it's a movie that I would watch again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't watch it as many times as I would watch the original, but I would watch it again.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the highlight of the movie overall was the girl in the red boat and that scene that we talked about. Just, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, in the sense of the first movie, it's very similar. There's not a lot of the shark till the end, and it's a lot of like picking off one by one, and so you get some cool stuff like that. You get the girl that's water skiing. That's a fun scene.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. And when he goes out and the burnt body, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So that, was cool. And then honestly, the opening too, I would throw in the good with the divers and they see the wreckage of the orca.
Right.
And then the shark attacks. And then later down the road, you get the photo that, is obviously a shark, but the power-driven mayor and his buddy didn't want to see it. And so they make him look crazy and fire him. But it's a good watch. It is. Yeah. So we can hop over to the meh. So then, things that you didn't love but you didn't hate. What do you got? You got anything here?
Again, looking at the time frame that I watched the movie, at the time I watched the movie, I loved it. I thought it was a great sequel.
Yeah.
When I went back and watched it several years ago, it probably didn't quite hold up like the first one would.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it. It was still a decent movie.
Yeah.
So, at the time, if we're not going to compare it to Jaws, and just understand it's a sequel, I thought it was a damn good sequel.
Yeah.
I really did. You're not going to top it.
Yeah.
Very rare does the second movie top the first movie.
Yeah.
And ironically, we kind of touched on that because I think two movies that may have done that was the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And From First Blood to Rambo, First Blood 2. Both first movies were fantastic, but the second movies were really, really good also.
Yeah.
I think this was probably close to that because at that time, being a kid watching it, I loved it.
Yeah.
Probably watched that movie 10 or 20 times. It was probably more relatable to me than the first one when I was a kid because it was kids.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't really have any bad to say about that movie.
Okay.
To be fair.
I don't have anything the bad. I would throw the helicopter scene in the meh, though. The reason I won't put that in the bad, because it probably deserves a spot in the bad, I'm going to put it in the meh because it's fun. It's not good, but it's fun. So I'll throw it in the meh category. They
had to put it in.
Yeah.
Somebody had to try and rescue them and die.
Yeah.
To elevate
the suspense and
the situation.
Yeah.
The direness.
Yeah.
So as bad as it was, that little cheap floaty helicopter that you could fly out of your backyard and land on your house, and the overweight guy that was destined. He's the fifth member of the crew of the USS Enterprise that goes to that beams down that he's the guy that's he filmed one day. They brought him in. He got in the helicopter. They filmed it. Okay, see ya.
Here's your stipend. Something else I'd throw in the meh is there's a scene. I'm trying to recall which scene it is. I think it's with the sailboats, but Jaws kind of comes out of the water, and I think it's when they're trying to pull Michael up. When Michael hits his head and he's in the water and he's kind of unconscious. And they're pulling him out of the water. Jaws comes up really close to the side of the boat and you can see the robot's mouth, like the animatronic mouth, like fold a weird way. And the mouth is like a rhombus rather than a circle.
I would have to go back and watch for that.
Yeah, it was just something I noticed this watch that like really stuck out to me. And I was like, But for the most part, I enjoy the shark again. I think the shark... definitely better than we're going to get in the next two movies. Right. But
the only, I don't want to say the only unrealistic thing because I suppose technically there's a lot of unrealistic. That shark could have come up right through any of those damn sailboats.
Yeah.
At any time.
Yeah.
And just mangled.
Maybe that was the point. Maybe they were doing the shark's playing with its food type of thing. You know? Like, it knows it can do it, but why not play with your food, you know? I just did the Texas Chainsaw Massacres last week, and I brought up the scene at the end of the Texas Chainsaw where the hitchhiker's chasing around the driveway, and he's like, he could easily catch her, but he doesn't. And my buddy's like, it's probably just I'm going to play with my food. It just adds to the psychotic nature of him. Maybe the shark was just playing with its food, you know? Something. I mean, probably not, but...
but no, yeah, good movie.
Yeah.
No complaints about it. Decent sequel.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So we'll hop over to our final thoughts and ratings. What do you give this one?
As a sequel, I'd give it an 8.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd give it an 8 as a movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I wouldn't. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. Because I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it, you know? So let's just... I'm gonna just say for the because of what it was and all of that, I'll go with an 8.
Okay. For me, I think as a movie, it's a good movie. And for me, a good movie is a 7 out of 10. I'm just going to give it a solid 7. I didn't think it was great, but like you said, I mean, if you're talking in the sense of comparing it to the first one, it is great for what it is. But if you're talking about the realm of movies as a whole,
right.
I'd probably just say 7,
right.
You know. But definitely worth the watch. I mean, just watch the first 2 and probably stop there. But
yes,
follow along with us on this channel and watch the 3rd and 4th one with me and Rosie. God bless her soul. As we'll talk about those ones next. But yeah, the second one is it's a worthwhile sequel. I
agree.
It's you can't compare it to the Spielberg's original, but it's still a fun watch.
Yeah. Yes.
For sure. Fun summer movie. I use the word fun lightly because it's still, at the end of the day, there is some horror to this film as well. I mean,
yeah, there's
some good tension.
There are shocking scenes.
Yeah.
There are terrifying scenes.
Yeah.
Equally terrifying to the first one.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you first kind of brought it up to me, my initial thought was, but the more that I think about it,
yeah.
When this movie came out, I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great sequel.
Yeah.
So you have to give it that.
For
you
sure.
know, and like you said, still terrifying.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's probably, when you're talking, I mean, we talked about it in the first one, the realm of shark movies. It's still probably up there.
Yeah, because at that time, you didn't have the knowledge of sharks as we do now.
I mean, I think, like, even talking what we've got in the past 50 years, this is still probably, it might be for me a top 3 shark movie.
Yeah, you're
and Deep Blue Sea is the one that comes to mind in that top 3.
And I think when we were talking about that earlier, I wasn't really looking at it that way. Mm-hmm. I was thinking Jaws, as in the Jaws movies.
Yeah.
The good ones.
That's fair.
And then what came after that.
That's fair. Okay.
So I would have kind of linked these
If you split them apart, though, it's still probably...
Yes, it is.
Jaws 1 and 2 would probably take 2 of the top 3 spots.
Yeah, and then let's just stop right there.
Yeah.
And say, Dennis, what were you thinking?
Yeah. Do love that guy, though, right?
I love Dennis Quaid. Absolutely love Dennis Quaid, but
his son's having a good year too, Jack Quaid. He had a movie just come out a couple weeks ago. I really enjoyed.
I don't even know who that is.
It's Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son.
Huh.
Yeah, he had a movie come out a couple weeks ago called Companion that I enjoyed, and then he has a movie coming out called Novocaine that I'm pretty excited for. So the Quaid family line continues to.
Okay, I didn't even know he had a son that was acting.
Yeah. That'll do it for Jaws 2. Uncle Rob, thank you for coming on. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. Again, Jaws 3 and 4 are coming your way this week. I understand if this is where you cut me off, but please bear with me. We'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.